Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we are going to be going over some practice with all the things we've learned in Unit 5 so far with these ratios and proportions. So what I want you to do throughout this little note session here is I want you to, before I do each problem here, I want you to go through and follow these directions for each set that we have for each problem, try it yourself, and then hit play again and see the process that we go through to solve this. So we want to be sure that we're doing all the steps we see here, following all the directions, and following all the directions that we have here. So round decimals to hundredths if necessary, so keep that in mind. Alright, so remember, we're doing number 1 here, so just go ahead, hit pause, try it on your own, and then you can play it again, and we'll see the process that I go through here. So here we've got some unit conversions, right? So our problem says if 1 mile equals 5,280 feet, then how many miles would 32,000 feet be? So, remember with unit conversions, it tells us right here all the things we need to do. So make a ratio out of the conversion given to you, keeping the units with the numbers. And we want to set up a proportion using the other measurement given and the unknown measurement. So what that means is we want to set up our first ratio out of the units given to you. So we want to know what is equal to what. So we know, I'm going to put miles on top here. So we know that miles is, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And now we want to set up that proportion. So we want to know how many miles. That's what we don't know, right? So we're going to use a variable up top. Remember, keep the same units on top and the same units on bottom. So I had a mile on top, so I'm going to put my X miles that I don't know on top. And then feet would be on the bottom for both instances. So we've got 32,000 feet. And here is where we want to now use our butterfly method to do our cross product here. So remember, I like to start with my variable. So we've got 5,280x is going to equal, and now we multiply our other wings of our butterfly there, so 32,000. Alright, so now we've got our equation set up, right? Our one-step equation. And since these are cross products, we need to divide to solve that equation. 5,280 divided by 5,280. I need to get my calculator out real quick because that is a pretty big number that I don't know off the top of my head. So we got 32,000 divided by 5,280. And that is going to be, we're rounding to hundredths, right? So I got x equals 6.0606, and that goes on like that, 060606. We are rounding to hundredths, which is this place here. So I'm going to look to the right. It is smaller than 5, so we are going to get rid of the rest of it. Whoops, I got rid of one too many numbers there. And we get 6.06 miles. So not too much work to show when it says show your work. All we got to do is set up a proportion and then solve a one-step equation. And it's asking us to circle our answer. So x equals 6.06 miles there. All right. So same thing for number 2, except we got different units we're converting from. So Charles swim laps for 108 minutes. How many seconds did he swim if 1 minute equals 60 seconds? Well, same thing. We want to take what we know is equal to each other. So 1 minute and 60 seconds is the same. So I'm going to use that to set up a ratio. We've got 1 minute to 60 seconds is equal to, all right, so we had minutes on top, right? And seconds on the bottom. So we're setting up a new ratio. I know the minutes here, so I will put 108 minutes on top. And I want to know how many seconds that is. I'm not sure, right? So I need to put an X there. All right, so this one will end up being pretty easy because 1 times X is just X equals, and then we've got our other multiply across here, so I'm going to hit my calculator again. 108 times 60 is 6,480 seconds that he swam for. So that was nice. We don't have to do any divisions here to solve that. Sometimes it'll work out in our favor like that, where all we have to do is that cross multiply, and we'll get our answer good to go. It's not going to happen always, just like up top it didn't happen, right? So be sure that you're really careful about how you're setting up your ratios here. All right, so I forgot to remind us to pause before number 2, so I hope you did. So I'm moving on to number 3, and I want you guys to pause, give it a try, and then you can play and go through our process with me. So remember, we are following our directions here. So first we need to set up an is of proportion. So if you want to, you can use your window, percent window here, right? So 100 always goes there. So yeah, just follow the steps, but I'm reminding us about the window here. So percent goes above the 100, so 14%. And now 95.3 is attached to of. And of is going to go on the bottom here, right? So we are going to have 95.3 in the of square. And the is, it's literally asking me what is, so I don't know that. So I'm going to use a variable. So that's how we set up our percent windows, remember? So from there, that gives us exactly our proportion that we want. Just looks a little bit different. Instead of a window, we set it up as a proportion. And then from there, same thing as up above. We are going to cross multiply our butterfly method. Start with my variable. So 100 times x is just 100x is equal to, and 95.3 times 14. So 95.3 times 14 going to give us 1,334.2. And now all we have to do is solve that one-step equation. Divide by 100, divide by 100 to get my x by itself, and x is equal to, so here's our shortcut. Remember, dividing by 100, we just move our decimal twice to the left. So 13.342. Remember, we are rounding to hundredths, so I'm going to take my 4 and look to the right. That next number is smaller than 5. So we're going to get rid of that 2, not that part of the 4. Whoops. So 13.34 is 14% of 95.3. So pretty simple there. So I'm going to set up a window for each of these for us as we go. All right, now remember, pause, try it on your own, and then you can come back through the process with me. So let's go ahead and pause and give number 4 an attempt here. And then coming back to it, we've got 100 down on the bottom. So 36 is going to go in our is square. What percent? We don't know the percent, right? What percent? So variable is going to go in our percent box. And then of is with 19. So 19 will go in the of space. And then we've got our proportion again. 36 over 19 will be equal to x over 100. I think we're starting to get the process here. So once we have our proportion, cross multiply. 19 times x is going to equal 36 times 100, which is going to be 3,600. One-step equation. All we have to do is divide by 19, divide by 19, and x will be equal to, calculator again, 3,600 divided by 19 will give us 189.473. Remember, we're rounding to hundredths, so we're going to take a look at our 7. Look to the right, that number is 5 or smaller than 5. If it's 5, we would round it up, but it's smaller than 5. So we're just going to get rid of that 3, and our answer is 189.47. All right, so let's try to do this one without a window. I'm just going to go straight up proportions here. So remember, the boxes still correspond with our spaces. So 100 will go here, and I want 83.5% of 23. So we don't know what our is number is, so a variable is going to go there. And then once again, multiply across. 100 times x will equal 23 times 83.5, 1,920.5. One-step equation. All we gotta do is solve that equation. Divide by 100, divide by 100, and x will equal 19.205. We're rounding to our hundredths, so we take a look to the right. That next number is 5 or bigger, so we need to turn that 0, round that up to a 1. Get a little practice with rounding here as well. And x is equal to 19.21. All right, so those are all our proportion style problems. Pretty simple process once we get the hang of it. It can be a little bit difficult to set up, but once we know that either percents are is of percent and 100 parts of our window, and then up above for unit conversions, keeping our units on the same level, it's really becomes a fairly simple process here. All right, so now we've got taxes, tips, and discounts. So remember, pause before each problem, give it a try on your own, then come back and find out how you did. So number 6 is asking us, how much tip will we leave if we tip 15% on a meal that costs $23.50? So remember, just going to go through our reminders here. So read the problem to figure out if we want to find the total amount or just the tax, tip, or discount amount. So here, it is only looking for how much tip, so I do not want the total here, right? And then it's just a 2-step process for that one. So what we need to do is turn our percent into a decimal. So the decimal point's out here. To turn it into from a percent to a decimal, I just got to move that decimal point to the left twice. So I get 0.15. And then the second step is to just multiply that times our original amount. So times, we don't want to use an x for multiply anymore. Times 23.5. So the amount we are tipping here will be $23.50 times 0.15. So you would be leaving a $3.52.5 tip, but we don't have half pennies, right? So we're rounding to the nearest cent. So here's our 2. That's our hundredths place. We look over. We have a 5 or bigger. So that 2 will become a 3, and we are going to round up because we're nice people. We want to tip a little bit more. Even though it's only a penny, rounding up still a better thing to do here. All right. So easy 2-step process there if we're only looking for the tip, tax, or discount. All right. So if sales tax is 6%, how much will you pay in taxes? So that's not the total again, right? That's just the tax amount. How much will we pay in taxes on a Monopoly game that costs $16.95? So once again, we are turning that 6% into a decimal. So move it to the left twice. So we're going to get 0.06 times the original amount. And how much are we paying in tax? Well, let's find out. We've got 16.95 times 0.06. So it looks like we are paying $1, a penny, and a little bit more in taxes. That is going to round up because we're looking at our 1. Then we look to the right. We have a 5 or bigger. So that 1 will become a 2. We are paying about $1.02 for our tax on that Monopoly game there. All right. So remember, pause before each problem, come back and take a look at it. So pause for number 8, try it on your own, and then come back and see how you did. So how much will we pay for a $29 sweater after a 25% discount has been applied? So if we read carefully, how much will we pay for that sweater? So we are looking for the total here. So we're going to have one more step than we would generally. All right, so remember, same thing for taxes, tips, and discounts. So turn my percent into a decimal, so 25% would become 0.25 times that, times the original amount, $29, and we get 29 times 0.25 is $7.25 discount we get. Now we want the total, not just the discount amount, right? So there's one more step we have to do here. We have to take our original amount and then subtract off our discount to finally get, do a little borrowing action here. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. 1 and 2. So, whoops, I forgot to follow the directions. Circle our answers. And then here is our answer here. $21.75 is what we are paying for that sweater when it has a 25% discount. So we get to take a little bit of money away from it, right? So there it is. So with these kinds of problems, we just want to be sure that we're looking for either the total amount or just the tax, tip, or discount amount. So read carefully when you take a look at that. All right. So hopefully you did pretty good trying on your own before following along there. But if you didn't, then we got a little bit of reminder of how to do these things. There is an assignment. So be sure that you go to the next spot in Canvas and finish the problems on that PDF and get that turned in, and you are done for the day. So have a great day. Remember, you can always email me if you are having any troubles. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.